What's up, guys? I was getting interviewed the other day, and a guy asked me, like, what do I think the biggest mistake people getting involved in real estate are making right now? And I told him, I was like, you got to think like an institution when you do these deals. You can't think like a real estate guy. Like, I'm a deal guy. I love deals, but my background, my very first business partner, they were in finance. They were in they had a mortgage company. It's called Success Mortgage Investments out of Austin. It was Bob Leonetti and Jamie Kayla. Jamie, I love Jamie. She still works for me today. I love Bob. They were my very first financial partners. The thing, though, was that they were in finance. They were doing, like, I got thrust into a world where instead of talking about paint, carpet, square foot, roofing, plumbing, electrical work, we were talking DSCR, LTVs, equity, general partners, limited partners, warehouse lines, spreads, debt yield, ROI. Like it was a whole different terminology. So unfortunately, and fortunately for me, even though I was doing real estate to them was a vehicle. It was a way to manage capital, to raise capital, to structure finance, things like that. So I think when you're thinking about investing in real estate, if you're just getting started or you've been investing and you want to be a passive investor or a limited partner in a deal, you need to invest with people or with the mindset like you're an institution, right? Um, Institutional banks, Wall Street banks, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, like they're not thinking like, hey, we're going to buy this piece of real estate or we're going to dump money into this deal and we're going to fix it up and flip it. And but then no one thinks like that there ever. They're always like, okay, we have we have billions and billions of dollars that go towards this asset class. And let's say they're going to be an equity partner. They're going to look at the quality of the asset, the quality of the person, which I'm going to go through a couple of things, like who's running the deal, who's running the deal. Like I'm running the deal in Bell Capital. So if I get a deal and we have I'm a general partner, you're the limited partner. You're coming on as a limited partner, a passive investor. We're gonna use that word, right? Non-sophisticated, right? Because I'm a normal dude. So, but I'm running the deal. So they want to see, hey, what's this guy's experience? I've done over $59 million worth of real estate. I come from the finance side. I deal with I like also aside from Bob and Jamie and Success Mortgage Investments, getting involved in real estate, my background there in the finance side. I was also in sales of selling annuities and life insurance, doing financial planning and budgeting for people, teaching them to budget, to create a financial plan for themselves, and then take that additional money and invest it in annuities, something that gives a fixed return to them. Like that was my world. So I was always dealing in money. I just didn't know that real estate was the vehicle to park your money because no one was really saying that. So when I talk to people now and they're like, hey, I'm looking at this deal and they show it to me. I'm like, dude, that's not a great deal. Well, no, man, I can fix it up. I can do this. And I'm like, dude, if that's your background, great. But if you're thinking about this from a return standpoint, a money standpoint, because you got to, this is all about money. Real estate's a money game. It's not a real estate game. Real estate's the vehicle. But if you're thinking about these deals or that deal as a money play, then your odds to getting to the end of the finish line based on you fixing it, um, the market doing what it needs to do, rents continuing to go up and or stabilize and not continue to go down, the debt market when you need to exit this deal in 3 years, the contractor changing their minds, the electrical work, the permits you got to pull, all that shit that you got to go to get to the end of the finish line as a finance guy or as a money guy makes me nervous. I'm like, dude, I don't want to do that. Why don't you just take that same energy that you're going to put into this deal, go find a great deal, great location, already somewhat stabilized where you can ride the wave of inflation and then turn around in like 3, 5, 7 years and then exit the deal based on your returns based on that work. That's a whole different think through. No institutional thinker, as it relates to capital, is concerned. Is thinking how you are going to go sweat your way to the top of the food chain. No one does that. JP Morgan is not looking at you to brag about how much hard work you're going to do. They want to know your team. They want to know you. They want to know your experience. They're really betting on the jockey by putting money in with you. Just like when you look at me as an investor, I want you to think like, dude, this dude's an unfair advantage was I came from looking through real estate based on an institutional eyes because that's what my partners forced me to look at, right? Um, that's a big problem right now. A lot of people are betting their game off of fix and flips, or if not fix and flips, buy like they want to buy something that needs work, obviously, and then go and do the renovations in hopes that that works. That doesn't always work out. It doesn't. because you're playing the money game. Money moves at a very consistent timeline. It's consistently going up. And if you can't, if your valuation of a deal, when you're going to make an investment in that deal, is not going to keep up with it, like when I'm thinking about a deal, I'm like, dude, I think over 10 years, this deal is going to continue to make money. The location is great, it's going to continue to do what it does. We're going to have some competition, but competition in real estate and multifamily real estate is good. It's going to drive values up. We want that, but that means we get to ride the wave of the continual value of these assets. Value meaning the income of the property, the rents of the property, right? People want to be there. They're going to continue to pay. The houses around it are a million, $2 million, or $1.5 million, or whatever. They're higher than average. People will continue to want to live in this zip code, and we have a great asset in this location that cannot be destroyed, disrupted, and we're good. One, we'll never lose money. Number two, we'll always make money. Number three, when we get out, we can maximize or multiply money. That's what we're looking for, right? So most people don't think like that because institutions do. That's why it feels so rough when you have an institutional thinking guy or a banker guy or an investment guy pick your deal apart. If you're an investor, like, oh, why don't they see the value? Why don't they see that we can increase the square foot of this thing by adding an ADU in the backyard? That's cool. That's a cool strategy. But as a guy that's like, dude, I just want to put my money in a place, get a return on my money, and then multiply it at the end with minimal amount of work and just ride the wave of the fact that we're in a great asset. Let's just do that. Like your banker is not trying to figure out how to work harder. And you don't need to think about that either. So if you have money and you want to be a passive investor, think through that. The asset is the number one value. The asset is the number one vehicle in your assessment of your opportunity. Always. So don't look at it from the perspective of, oh, this is a great real estate market, a great deal. Yeah, that stuff matters too. But you want to be looking at this like an institutional banker and go, dude, can I lose money? Can we make money? And then can we multiply money in these assets? That's the only thing you need to be thinking about. If you think that any one of those things aren't going to happen, pass. That's how I look at all deals. That's why it's so hard. So, that guy also asked me too, was like, so what do you think some of the, like another mistake that I've made? What are the mistakes they're making and what are the mistakes that I've made? Number one mistake I think I made, I probably was too conservative for too long with money. Like I won't throw down, just like what I'm talking about. I think like an investor or an institutional investor because my partners were financial people, right? So like I might have missed great opportunities, some massive waves big time. Like I miss Apple, I miss Nvidia. I probably missed this last huge boom where the interest rates were like 2-3%. I took advantage of it on some smaller scales, but not on the big massive scales because we didn't have the fund operating the way that I wanted it to. And I was watching what was happening and I pulled back. Just like Blackstone pulled back, KKR pulled back, Equity Residential pulled back. Like so again, it looked weird to my buddies because they aren't institutional thinkers, but I am. I didn't get started like them. I didn't get started swinging hammers and painting. That's not my game. So that's one of the biggest mistakes that I think that I can look back on my career and go, yeah, maybe you were too conservative, so I might have missed things. But here's the deal with me missing stuff. I also didn't stack up a bunch of losses. I don't have a bunch of financial losses, losing a bunch of my investors' money, losing my own capital. I didn't get crushed when they did either. So yeah, conservatively, I might have missed some opportunities, but I also didn't stack up a bunch of losses that affect my confidence to make good decisions, right? Sometimes it's not about what you do. Sometimes it's about the things you didn't do to avoid problems that actually makes you who you are, right? So, those are the things I wanted to share with you. I wanted to do this video from a second time. Number one, this is with Tycoon. I did another video just random, talking about this too. But if you're just getting started in this, I don't care if you're 20 or you're 40 or you're 50 and you're looking at making an investment, whether you want to be an active investor or you want to be a passive investor, like the people that we deal with for our fund. This matters. You need to think through things like an institution or a life insurance company that's taking capital as a collective and you're moving that money into an asset class that is going to be oversaw or the money is going to be managed by somebody else. They need to also think about your capital the way you think about your capital inside of the asset. That's me. All right. Super important to do those things. I say super important a lot, huh? Anyway, so what did I say in this that makes you think differently? Maybe you're thinking about doing your first deal or doing your first deal for the 100th time, whatever, I don't care. But like, are you thinking like an institution? Are you thinking like a bank? Are you thinking about returns on your money, not losing your money? being in a better asset class in a better location for a longer period of time because you're thinking long term like banks do, or are you thinking like a mom and pop shop, hoping to make this better return, and you're chasing a new shiny object, every new strategy that comes out. But let me tell you, if you're a real player, if you're a real investor and you run a business, you have a great business, great revenue, or you're a high paid person, like you're a doctor or attorney or whatever. Like you aren't thinking about these flash in the pan, get rich quick schemes. You're thinking about create wealth for sure for you and your family long term. And you have to think like a bank. Banks don't just randomly close because they don't make bad loans. They don't make bad decisions when they're an equity partner or a debt partner in a deal. Period. That's just not how it works. So, if I can help you, I would love to do that. If you're getting started and you're thinking about doing that, just shift a little bit of your thinking. Don't make the same mistakes. If you have money in an IRA, 401k, you have money sitting in a you have money in a money market account, just in regular savings, earning you nothing. We'd love to talk to you and help you get started with us. We have a blind raise, which means that we don't have a deal picked out. We look at a lot of deals, but we are relying on our business plan, which is what I said before. I think like a banker. So I'm relying on my business plan to do the deal, not the deal to force me into a bad deal. And then I'm scrambling trying to figure out how to get our money out. That's not what I do. Some people do it, they're successful at it. Nah, I don't want the noose around my neck, and I know you don't want it either to make bad decisions. All right. So I'm not saying to do that. I'm just saying that's what I do. But what I do is I think differently about my opportunity, the investment. I don't have a noose around my neck. I don't need to bend a knee to kiss the ring because I got some bad deal as a syndicator raising money first. Hopefully, you guys value that. I'm not saying that's the best way. I'm just saying that's my way. And I appreciate my investors who appreciate me for thinking that way. So think about it that way for yourself as well. All right. So I hope this helps you guys. Leave a message in the comments. What did you get from this? Or where are you thinking like an investor or investment banker or an institution? And where are you not? Where are you looking at some of your opportunities as this flash in the pan? You got to have surges. You got to have these big surges of revenue. Got it. But that's usually coming from your business. You don't need two businesses. You need to focus on your business and make a long-term investment in something where you're not going to lose money. You're going to get cash flow. You're going to control depreciate. You're going to have controlled depreciation, unlike stocks. You're going to have tax benefits that get passed on to you, and you're going to have leverage and protection from inflation. All right. So, huge, huge, huge. But leave it in the comment. Where are you doing it? Where are you not? Love to hear from it. And do me a favor, man. Like this video, share the video, comment on the video, and give it a thumbs up or give it a thumbs down. Don't be a hater and a hider at the same time. But if you're young, you're just getting started, whether it's age young or you're new to the business, this is how I want you to think if you're going to become the next real estate tycoon. And I want to help you do that. So, yeah, let me know if you guys need anything. Have a great day today. Let's get after it. And